So, my name is Marin Niehues, and today I'll be hosting the session. Congratulations, you are Agile. Your product is still late. So, a few words about me. My name is Marin Niehues again, living in Germany with fiancé and a dog. I do consulting for a living, and especially organizational architecture and business analysis, meaning I go to companies and tell them how to do things right. Correct processes, efficiency, very German job, right? So efficient, very thorough. And I also do stage starter, helping experts talking on conference stages. But that's not important for today. What's important for today is that your products are still late. And for that, let me take you on a journey. This there is Paul. Paul is a freelancer. What does he do as a freelancer? He provides a valuable solution to a customer's problem that solves this problem, and therefore he gets feedback and money. Right? Paul is solving a problem and gets money, simple transaction. So as long as Paul is solving those problems, his contract will get extended. So everything is good. Paul is happy, the clients are happy, and what do you do if everything is working handy dandy? You scale. So Paul said, okay, I can solve 100 problems. If I can solve one problem, let's scale. This is Paul now, and Paul scaling founds the Paul Software Incorporated LLC, whatever you want to form there. And he still has some clients, still providing, service, getting some feedback for the service, getting money for the service, and getting extended contracts. And then he hires some developers. And I like real hip startup, open space, loft work, old paper mill, I don't know. And they now develop the services, and Paul goes to the clients and gives him the services, the developers develop, and so on. And the developers start also aligning among themselves, right? Because you have different code bases now, branching, all that. So Paul starts adding marketing. Gets bigger, so we need some marketing guys making TikToks. I don't know, I'm turning 30 next month. I don't know if TikTok still is a thing. So marketing provides some company services to Paul, and they align with Paul, and they align with the developers. And among themselves, of course. And then Paul is adding some salespeople, because if you do marketing, you also need to do sales. And the salespeople talk to Paul, they talk to the marketing guys, sometimes to the developers. Well, they are selling features that the developers then have to develop in the crunch time, but that's a different story for a different day. And then they are also aligning amongst themselves. And then Paul says, okay, I also need some admin people. We have a lot of alignment here. Let's do some admin stuff here. The admin people start talking to developers, to Paul, to marketing, to sales, and well, among themselves. You get the gist, and this is very convoluted, so Paul does the unthinkable. He hires a PMO. At that point in time, well, the PMO sole job is to align with the developers, with Paul, with marketing, with sales, and with admin, and a lot among themselves. But now we have fancy roadmaps in Jira, which is great. And of course, now we need more developers, we have more clients, we have more sales, so even more developers, more alignment among themselves. Oh, kind of the value, if you look to the upper right-hand side, kind of faded away a little bit. A lot of time is now spent with internal stuff. Like, we have so many communications, and Paul was like, okay, this is convoluted. This has become kind of inefficient. So Paul went to uni in 1980s. What does he do? He sets up a middle management, a new structure. He says, this is now efficient. I'm at the top. I call myself CEO. Well, the animations are a bit out of place. Don't you worry about that. Just imagine like this text block isn't there yet. And then Paul is adding some heads off. Like head off is always a cool position to have in your company. I'm the CEO, you're the head off. And under those head off, you have some team leads. And then, of course, like every good company, you divide your teams into technical function. You have a back-end team 1, back-end team 2, front-end. What could go wrong, right? Also, we have a DevOps team. Well, somebody tried telling Paul what DevOps is. He was like, no, that's a different job title. They get their own team. Let's go. So we have a lot of people, everyone nice and dandy, this organizational chart, and then people start meetings. They align among themselves, right? Every team has to talk with the team members. And then they talk to their team lead and to the other teams, of course. And the team leads talk to the heads of, and the head-offs talk with each other. The head-offs then talk to Paul and with each other. And some head-off also, as you can see, they go directly into the teams. It's Wild West at that point, really, right? The head-offs they're very powerful people. They can talk to anyone. And Paul also, Paul has so many good ideas. Every Wednesday, he feels like getting up, walking directly straight to a developer and giving him a special assignment. So he has also a lot of communication lines going from him. Wait a second. Who didn't we talk about yet? Oh, yeah. But this is a lot of work. We don't have time for customers right now. Paul was desperate, right? The customers were not too happy, so he went looking for help. This is all very convoluted. My textbook from the 80s didn't work. This is Emma. Emma came in shining armor on a horse like the knight she was. She was an Agile solution consultant, and very Agile consulting. And she came around and she had a lot of certifications, mind you. I'm from Germany, certifications are our life and blood. She got the product owner too, the Scrum Master too. She has OKRs, she has Agile coaching, Safe 6, she got Nexus, ITIL 4, Systemic Coach, Prince 2, and well, maybe 20 other certificates there, but the slide was very small and I couldn't fit Emma's whole deal there. So, Paul is impressed. Wow, so many certifications. Nearly as much as I have communication alliance. No. So he books them. He's like, okay, very Agile consulting. Give me Emma and her team. And she starts implementing Agile frameworks. So this is what we have, right? Now, Emma comes along and she adds some Scrum Masters. And some Kanban Masters, because the others felt left out. They got Scrum Masters, we have to have something else. We got Scrum Masters. And some product owners. And some release train engineers. And a solution train engineer. And now, Paul was an Epic owner as well. Sorry, I forgot about the Epic owner. How could I? Such a bad Agile coach. And Paul felt a little bit left out, so he got a management consultant as well. Might as well. So, they did the daily. And now you have the Scrum Masters talking to the team as well. And the Scrum Masters talking to the team lead, and the product owners talking to the team. You got the product owners talking with each other, and the Scrum of Scrums, of course. Then you have the product owners and Scrum Masters talking to the release train engineer, which of course have to call the solution train engineer and the Epic owner as well. And of course, the management consultant is just as Paul. She talks to everyone. Oh. Wait. We had another 10 slides or so. We still haven't talked about customer. Forgot about this. Everything was so expensive, so many new people and faces, remember, so many alignment. We're never so aligned like right now. Customers approaching Paul's Software Inc. and they're like, well, sorry, but this has taken 3 years now. We got a new contractor. You are not solving our problems anymore. And this is this very single thing we booked you for in the very beginning. Solving my problems. I don't care about that shebang. I care about my systems here. So, Paul goes to very Agile consulting, takes up to the partner, and he's like, you guys, you cost me my clients. And the partner says, yeah, but the metrics. Our metrics are great. One team tripled their velocity. Yeah, well, they just tripled the estimation value. One is now 3, magic. Yeah, maybe you're right, but our average cycle time, so start to finish a story, is now only 2 days. Yes, a mail is considered a task in our board. Great, coding task, still 40 days. Yes, but our team has finished nearly all tasks on the board. They're all set on done. Yes, because the definition of done doesn't include shipping to the customer. What should I say? Who's policing the police at that point, right? But wait, Paul sits down and maybe finds some smart person in the company. They sit down with Paul and tell him, 2 metrics are on the low, actually. First, the Net Promoter Score, how satisfied clients are with your solution. Went from plus 52 to minus 52. Well, this is very polarizing, obviously. If your Net Promoter Score is ever minus 52, you might close up shop. Secondly, our revenue went down. Well, this is all very blue through that. You get the gist, right? We are in the red numbers, which are blue in this case, but red numbers, figuratively speaking, since ever we started this transformation. So, clients are canceling the contracts now. Paul has to lay off people. But in the end, he sits in front of his mirror at night before he goes to bed and tells himself, but we are agile now. What went wrong? I will tell you what went wrong. Emma brought Scrum. She brought Kanban. Unfortunately, she brought Safe. But she forgot about the customer. And this is not what Agile really means. So, if your Agile transformation was really so great, why are customers leaving? Why do your teams hate Scrum? Just yesterday, I had with another speaker a talk, and I'm doing this since like close to 9 years now, and I started off as a Scrum Master. Now I went away from that because I like delivery and not Scrum. But he said, I never ever in 20 years saw a company where I felt like Scrum was being used correctly or brought any value. Why does nobody trust your roadmap? Why is roadmap a bad term anyway? A roadmap is something great. If you know when something is finished and what to rely on and what's blocked with what, that's cool to know. But why do you guys hate the term? And why are you still late? Again, German punctuality, I hate being late. So if Agile should bring anything, is at least being predictable and not late. More predictable. Because you didn't understand what Agile really was about. So the definition of Agile. First things first, Scrum is not Agile. It can try being Agile. Safe is not Agile. No further sentences here. Anyone ever read into the Agile Manifesto? All right, that's great. Anyone didn't read into the Agile Manifesto but was forced to do any Agile framework? Yes, sir. Agile Manifesto says interactions and individuals over processes and tools. It says working products over comprehensive documentation. It says customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And it says responding to change over following a plan. This is Agile. Every daily you do that isn't leading to this is not Agile. Every sprint planning you have that is not leading to this is not Agile. It's just a framework. Agile really is about something else. So there was this Agile Manifesto you just saw, 4 simple sentences. Those were broken down in 12 principles for your teams, your company to be Agile, what Agile should mean for you. First, satisfy the customer. Very first, most important, Everything we do is about satisfying a customer. And your customer, I'm very sorry for that, doesn't care about your Q3 alignment OKR workshop with leadership offsite in Malaga. Embrace change. If a market changes, embrace the change of the market and find a new business case. Adapt to that. Third, deliver frequently. If you wait 2 years to push something to production, then you're wondering, oh, there are 180 new solutions that came out in the meantime. Well, collaborate with business, and this goes also for business. This, I feel like, because developers wrote that, they talk to fellow developers, hey, dear developers, please. Not every business person is evil, but it goes the other way around. Build the right environment and trust. Direct communication, meaning I call you, I go to you, I directly communicate. I don't do it over 5 or 6 different communication points. Working products as the main KPI. If it doesn't work, it doesn't exist for a client or a customer. Work in a sustainable pace. Obviously, you should work as fast as possible, as you can keep it on for a long time. Attention to quality. Keep it simple and minimal. Let people self-organize. And lastly, reflect on how to become more effective. Those are the 12 principles. Also for the slides later, you can find them in the app, or there will be QR code later. You can add me on LinkedIn and I send you the PDF. Both is fine for me. You can also take pictures, and if I'm looking very good on the pictures, you can send them to me because I have a very big ego now, sorry. Now, frameworks like Scrum, try taking those principles and operationalize them. So again, these are the principles, right? And now look at the really fancy animation I made. Scrum now tries clustering those principles into different events. We have the daily, to keep on track. We have the review, where we say, let's do it for the customer. We have the planning, where we say, let's adapt to the market. And we have the retro, where we say let's push ourselves further. Not there. Sustainable pace, right? So, the thing about Agile frameworks, or frameworks in general for all that matters, you quickly get a false sense of doing it right. I call it checkbox Agile. You know, you come like a doctor, you come with your checkboxes like, okay, do we do a daily? Yes. Do we do a planning? Yes. Do we do a retro? Yes. Oh, great, we are Agile. Next client, let's bill them 2,000 a day. Secondly, as I said, you very quickly go into that mode. And thirdly, means to a means. So framework should be means to an end. But people selling you an Agile framework are selling you just the means, but not the end. What people should sell you, and this is why I'm telling you, I went away from being around Scrum, but being about delivery. People should sell you a successful product delivery to the market, no matter if Agile is the best way for you, or hybrid, or whatever shenanigan there might be in the future. Because if we do this framework over function, something like this happens. Now this, as we said, here are the principles, nice and dandy, mapped to an event. But what happens now? In the daily, we don't keep on track, we just meet every morning. In the review, we don't do it for the customer. We have a rollout and demo every 4 weeks, I don't care what happens. In the planning now, we don't adapt to the market, but we plan the next milestone, sprint. Not milestone, sprints. We are very agile. And in the retro, you don't push yourself, but you do a feel-good circle. Maybe you dance your name a little bit, you know, team building, all that. If you are digitally, you do a Miro with fancy flower stickers. Have you ever done the speedboat retro or the race car retro? Yeah. I met a Scrum Master back in the day who had a library of 300 retros, basically asking the 4 same questions, but every time in different hand-drawn storytellings. And the questions were, what went well? What went wrong? What did I learn? What do I need to work better next sprint? She was working with a backend development team. Technically, you still do Scrum. You do the review daily, let's not call it grooming, it's a weird word, refinement, all that. But what is really left of agility? Interactions and individuals, satisfy the customer, frequent delivery, focus on quality. So, you should start with the principles. If you want to start fixing things, start with 4 principles out of the 12, because you can't start with all 12 at the same time. Well, you could, but you would fail. So start with 4. These are the principles again. Please start with those 4. Satisfying the customer, collaborate with the business, build the right environment to perform, and have working products. Inherently, I would say working products and satisfying the customer is kind of the same, because the customer is always only satisfied if the product is working for him, but focus on those. In reality now, this is very high level, and you don't know, oh, okay, how do I do that? Thank you for telling me that I should have a working product and satisfy the customer. Yeah, great, I would know that. So, I brought some methods how you could start out. Method 1, satisfying the customer. In the Agile Manifesto, it says, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Quote, end. It doesn't say our highest priority is to do Scrum through early and continuous alignments, right? So, how do we do that? Your product must solve a real problem and not just exists. We can use something like a persona canvas or a value proposition canvas. I'll come to that in a second. Validate your hypothesis fast, build MVPs, test, iterate. I don't know if anyone yesterday was at my talk building AI customer clones. You see how this now connects together. Frequently release. Because the later you release, the later your feedback will come. So you want to shift feedback left by early release, early validation, and constant input from your customers. And done doesn't mean delivered. If there's something done on your systems and not on the user interface where a user can actually use it and click it, it's not done. I give you an example. If your phone now would brick, and you would call customer support and be like, yeah, sorry, my phone has bricked. And they were like, yeah, oh, yeah, that's a software bug. We already got a solution for that. Yeah, great, when can it turn back on again? Yeah, in 3 months, we will patch it then. Do you feel like they have a solution already? Or do you feel like they have a solution in 3 months when they deliver it to you? One example could be an alpha product tested with a focus group, digital customer twins. A public playtest, if you're into video games, a public playtest is nothing else than getting feedback as early as possible. Or product samples, if we can also talk about real, like manufacturing products or taste samples. Give out product samples. A persona, basically, let's talk about persona for a second, is a prototype user. It's an archetype based on real data and behaviors. Very important. It's statistically speaking. So a persona is always like the average of that specific target you have. It allows you to tailor your approach, and it does create empathy for your focus group. A persona looks a little bit like that. So this is a very generic template here now. It can have some different fields, but in general, it does look like that. So a persona, and I always recommend it, give them a picture, give them an image. Act like, you are really thinking about how this person would live their lives, how they would look. And the persona basically gives you everything about a person you should know. So the age, the job title, the status, location. Normally I like to point it out, but this is really high to point out. So. You get some information about the personality. Are they introvert, extrovert, creative, intuitive? You get their pain points. And this is the most important. You get their pain points, their goals, their interests, and their needs. And with that, you know why they would buy your product or not buy your product. And you would know what problem your product needs to solve. And the very first principle, what will satisfy them. If you don't know that, why would you know what is satisfying them? That you can combine with a business model canvas. Anyone ever heard of a business model canvas? Yes, few people. A business model canvas tries to analyze the market, focuses on what's sellable for your product, and outlines your product. So basically, when the persona is the person you try to sell to, the business model canvas is what you try to sell to the person and how. Looks like this. The company behind that is Strategizer. They really have amazing templates, free to download for a lot of this stuff. So the business model canvas would say something like value propositions. If we would have a young male who always have money problems, the value proposition could be, we help you save money without changing who you are. That could be a value proposition. Maybe that will satisfy his need. You try to analyze the channels you are shipping through. There could be marketing channels or actual shipping channels, cost structure, revenue, all that. This is your product. This is everything you will earn money with. It is paying your salary, my salary, whatever. And then we try to combine it through a value proposition canvas. And this is where satisfaction happens. I should think about that sentence. But so you try to match your business to the persona, just like a nice Tinder match. You make sure that your business resonates with the persona and you have a need-based strategy. So you are focusing on solving real problems. Looks like this. And if you didn't play Candy Crush for the last 5 minutes, you see now on the left-hand side, you see our business model canvas, very, very broken down. How are we relieving pain? What products do we offer? And how are we creating gain? And on the right-hand side, you see our persona. What gains do they need? What pains do they have? And what jobs do they have on a daily basis? And in the middle, where the two arrows meet, this is the fit. This is the sweet spot. This is what it means to satisfy a customer. One best practice is digital twins. It's only a slide. You know the slide already. This is an example of digital twins. I did build a tool for myself where I have the persona, the business model canvas. I give them to digital twins and I can chat about the persona with them. About the business model with them. I can ask them, would this new feature satisfy you? Would this help you going forward? Would you buy that? Is this something that would help you in your daily job? So I take all the data and try to simulate if I would satisfy clients. First, that were just some methods to achieve the first principle, satisfy your customer. Fourth principle, so second principle we want to talk about, but the fourth in general, collaboration with business. I know it's hard. Business people do speak different languages than techies often, but that's fine. The Agile Manifesto says, business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. This is what's written there. I'll be honest with you, for some business people, you might not want to see them daily, and that's fine. Totally fair. It's like family, you know. Right. How do you do that? Structure communication, very important. Secondly, cultivate T-shaped professionals. T-shape is a very, very big thing to become cross-functional and collaborative. And focus on end-to-end delivery. There's no worse thing than a back-end team. If you are offering a product and you segment your product into 12 teams working on the product, instead of having the whole delivery chain of the product into one communication channel, well, First, let's talk about T-profiles for a second. I think some of you might heard of it, but I will, of course, show them again, else I wouldn't be here. So, T-profiles are basically called like that because they're cross-functional, meaning you have a very deep knowledge, that's the one line of the T, but you also have a broad knowledge to connect to other T's. This is the upper part of the T. This only enables end-to-end delivery, because if I have a lot of I's, and you will see it in a second, there are no connection points to each other. If I don't speak the same language the other person in the room speaks, I'm not talking about the same things. And product mastery only if you have a deep understanding in one area and some understanding in other areas, you will be able to get the whole picture as a team about your product. T-shaped profile, there it is. Looks a little bit like that. So as I said, you have the broad knowledge, the horizontal, that's your generalist knowledge, and you have your deep knowledge, right? In reality, it looks something like this. You have one deep knowledge, you have several where you are professional, and you have a lot of general knowledge, right? This could be a quality assurance master who knows some coding, a little bit of Scrum, and he knows a little bit about DevOps, and at least he understands what is sold in the company. When I was a department head for 50 people, we were actually in Germany the biggest company for digitalizing medical data. And one day, I had the lead developer in my office, and we talked a bit because I wasn't too satisfied. And he wasn't focusing on what created value. So I showed him like, okay, listen, if a customer approaches us, this is what we do, and this is what they pay us for, and I explained the whole, like, where his salary is coming from. And he looked at me. He stared, like, he looked like a deer in a headlight. Sorry, why are you telling this to me? It's like, yeah, because, well, this is paying my money, this is paying your money, our cars, vacations. Yeah, but I'm just a developer. I don't care about stuff like that. And he went out of my office. Gone he was. Oh. And this, but on the other hand, every time we prioritize tickets, every time I needed to make sure that we are delivering the most value to our clients, I knew I couldn't let him in charge because he wouldn't have the T to dock to business. Here again, very visually, if you have a lot of I's, deep knowledge, there's always a gap between those. If you have a lot of T's, well, due to the formatting of PowerPoint, there are still very small gaps between it, but ideally, it's one line going through, connecting to each other. And this is why also business needs at least to know a little bit about the options of technical possibilities. They came in like, yeah, let's do AI and it's all automated and we save cancer. That's a missing T profile on their side. On the other hand, if a DevOps engineer pulls up 500,000 in nodes overnight because he doesn't care about money, well, that's a T profile missing on his side. And only if we have T profiles, we can talk about end-to-end delivery, meaning build it, ship it, run it. And I would go even further. It means ideate it, understand it, build it, ship it, run it. You want to have direct communication within the team, no unnecessary handovers, classical silos, right? And ideas should lead to actions without any alignment, approval, review board, what there could be whenever there are handovers. All right. Principle 5, or principle 3, but the 5th one in general, the right environment. This is a very big one. And I hate to break it to you upfront, expectation management, you won't solve it by yourself. You can only do your part with the people you affect. And often I get the question in the end, after a talk, yeah, what if my company doesn't understand this and we are hitting the wall because this and that. There's something in Germany we call learning through pain. You can do your best. And I hope if everyone does their best, maybe there's enough of a momentum to steer against some environments. But sometimes it's learning through pain. But for an environment, it's very important to build inherent trust. And I don't want to be like, like the guy who's like, no, oh yeah, let's do a therapy here and we have to trust and safe space, whatever. No, but we have to trust each other that we are on our best, that we do what we can do at our very best, and that if I trust you with something I did, or the other way around, we are a team here. We stay strong to each other. The Agile Manifesto says, build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. I always tell leadership, I have a lot of leadership who's very micromanaging stuff. And I always tell them, if you feel like you need to micromanage your guys, you either hire the wrong guys, or you're a very bad leader and a better developer. How could we build such an environment? It's hard. Just some ideas. Psychological safety. I know everyone in this room, I suppose, has ever sat in at one point in his or her life has sat in a meeting where it was something like, yes, we value feedback and we listen to each other, and 95% of the cases that didn't happen in real life then. But this is the most important thing. If I build shit code, there needs to be enough trust in each other that somebody can tell me that in a non-aggressive manner and helps me fix my code for me to get better writing new code. Secondly, empower teams to take full ownership. And this is a two-sided medal, really. A lot of teams are always like, yeah, we don't get the ownership, and nobody is letting us decide, and then some things go wrong, and the teams are the very first to jump ship and like, yeah, he's the captain, kill him. Other way around, there are enough managers who are like, yeah, our team can do whatever they want. They're so empowered. I just check in twice a day with each and everyone and see how empowered they are and tell them how empowerment goes. Define clear boundaries while granting autonomy within those. This is my very, very best practice. When I started actually being responsible for other people in terms of leading other people, I called my very first boss. He was like, my very first boss was the best I ever had. And I asked him, now I'm leading people, what is the number one rule you would say? And he said, give them a boundary and then make clear that they shouldn't interfere with you outside this boundary, but you don't interfere with the inside of this boundary because that's expectation and relationship management. You can do whatever you want as long as you get the job done within this circle. Outside of this circle, I want to support you because maybe it's political or it's a situation you can't control by yourself. Treat employees as experts and respect their capabilities. How many times, and I worked at very, very, very big companies, real big companies, how many times have I seen a solution on the operational level only for this solution to be put in a drawer and a 5-year project being started by some head of something, and after 5 years, he's like, yeah, there's no solution to that problem. Can't possibly. One example would be a team managing their own R&D budget or hiring decisions. I had one client where we actually did this. So this was a developer team, cross-functional, and every time we hired somebody, they would give their go or no. The team lead could veto, but only based on economical factors, and that's it. The team lead had no hiring power whatsoever. On paper he had, but he gave it all to the team. Never ever did I see a team working so well, trusting each other so much. And follow an intent-based leadership. This is what I do since a couple of years now. I don't give out tasks. I like to give out where we want to go. Obviously, if you have a junior, you might want to give more guidance. If you have a very senior person, you might want to well, stay out of her way, and somewhere in between. As a manager, avoid micromanagement, but be available if somebody needs you. 3 methods, real quick, I want to go through because we're close to the end. A team charter, trust your experts to deliver, and radical candor. Team charter could look something like this. What is our mission as a team? What is the scope of this team? Who is in this team? How do we communicate, on which channels, in which tone, and so on. And our expectations towards each other. For me to work at my best, I expect you to. Then we have something called delegation poker, which I also really like. Even if it's fancy images, I don't like this. But yeah, I like the principle behind it. So if you're a manager, if you're a leader, ask yourself, do I tell people? Do I sell it to people? Do I consult them before I take the decision? Do we have to agree? Do they decide, but I will advise them in their decision? Do I inquire after they decided? Or do I not give a shit and delegate? Right? You have to, and this should go along with the high levelness and your expertise. If you're, let's say, I was department lead software development, but I'm not inherently a software developer. So everything technical, it was somewhere between 5 and 7. I trusted my guys. I had really great guys sitting there on technical level. Everything economical, it was max a 3. Because before I came, they were at 7 with their own budgets. And one guy got himself a nice bag for his bicycle you can put in the back of the bike, right? As a working expense of 1,800 euros. I was like, yeah, okay, no, we will not do that. But our interns didn't get any money, right? That's really the balance we need. So, radical candor means find common ground, build trust, set boundaries, seek and give feedback, and give appreciation. Looks a little bit like this. There are 4 options. You can be silent or very loud, and you can care about others, or you can't care about others, or you don't care about others emotionally. If you are very silent, but you care about feelings, that's ruinous empathy. You are empathetic, that's nice, but you're not saying anything. Nobody can work with that. If you don't care about emotions, and you're very silent, it's called manipulative insincerity. Jesus, what a word. If you are loud and you don't care about emotions, it's obnoxious aggression. You just go in there. I had so many German backend developers are like this. They come in like, oh, you can't even say what you think here. What a shit show. Only if you care about others, so think about how others would feel, not care about them personally. You don't have to ask about their wife, but how do they feel if I tell them this? And if you change them directly, we call it radical candor. So I have to speed it up a bit. Principle 7, working products as the main KPI. Working software is the primary measure of progress. How? Ensure your product is usable, ensure stable operation, solve a real problem. For example, with minimum viable features, focus on delivery, meaning deliver one thing to 100% instead of 10 to 10%, because 10 times 10% is not 100%, at least not in terms of delivery. So, and this now we have to kind of skip a little bit. Google brought out something called HEART, customer-centric framework HEART, and I like it a lot because HEART means we measure happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success. So how happy are they? How engaged are they? How good are they adopting this? How often do they come back? And how successful are they in doing their job with my product? Very important thing. And this now we go through very quickly. Happiness means the feedback, the ratings, the net promoter score we talked about in the beginning. Engagement means something like keeping user engaged, how much time are they spending in the app, average session length. The A for adoption means how many people are actually seeing value in that and adopting to our solution, like downloading in the App Store. How many downloads do I have in the App Store could be one metric of that. Or how many registered versus guests accounts, that's also a metric I really like personally. R means retention, meaning to keep people as long as possible in my app. Signals would be like session length, how many subscriptions are renewed, repeat purchases, whatever. And T means task success. And there you can see how much tasks are users efficiently completing with my solution. Metrics would be a search exit rate, clicks to content, crash rate. This is for later when you download the slides, you all have it in a table form. Thing is, structure and dysfunction is just structured dysfunction. And now, if we have some foundational principles in our company, and we build processes, tools, and structure, then we can have customer-facing products. But if our principles in themselves are dysfunctional, and now you slap Agile over it, Agile processes, Agile tools, Agile structures, but they are also dysfunctional, that won't heal your baseline, your foundation. It will just lead to your products also being dysfunctional. You can choose the right structure with the Stacy matrix. That gives you basically an overview whether technologies and requirements are known or very unknown. And if you are working in an environment where everything is really known, you work at a conveyor belt, car production, you know? Everything is repeatable, very standardized, very known. If it's really chaotic, let's say rocket science, you should work on getting a few more things known, and then you can work in a complex or complicated area where we have some management frameworks. And I'm already overdrawing, but let me get you my synopsis here real quick. It is not about doing Scrum. It's not about an Agile framework. It's about this. From the beginning on, it was about you solving a problem for a customer, and he's being so grateful for it, he keeps using your services to keep solving his problems, and you getting money for it. And this is also going for B2C. I was a big user of Tinder back in the days, and I paid them to solve a problem for me. Oh. What problem I had, you can think about that yourself. I'm not going into that. And as long as they solved that problem, I was happy. I spent $28.99 a week on it. But they solved my problem, and obviously it was worth it. And if solving the problem doesn't work, this won't help you. Neither will, sorry, this slide is over, neither will the big, what was supposed to be here, went missing in the transfer, neither is the big communication and network we saw in the middle of the presentation with all the red lines and Agile shebang, right? This will help you. These 12 principles will help you tomorrow to build better products, to not talk about being Scrum or Kanban or Scrumban less Nexus, Spotify, whatever there is, starting with those 4. And if you just take one thing from it all, now we all have to be strong and turn off Candy Crush for another minute. If it's not solving a problem, stop building it. If it's not delivered, it doesn't exist. If leadership doesn't know why, frameworks won't help. And customers don't care if you are using Scrum. They care if it works for them. It was never about frameworks. It was about the problems we solve for our customers all along. And if you are sitting here now thinking to yourself, yeah, nice that I know this, but my manager, he's the bad guy. You scan my LinkedIn, give me his phone number, and I will probably not call him because I think that's against some laws, but you put me in contact with him. Thank you so much. This is my LinkedIn. If you want to hit me up there, happy to chat digitally as well. And also another thing, if you would like to rate the session, also very happy, would help the organizers and me a lot. Thank you.